Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. I love all Amber. And today we are going to watch me have a reaction towards the topic of metacognition, showcasing the individuals Joyce, Denzel, and Grace. Now, the definition of metacognition is thinking about thinking, the awareness, understanding, and regulation of one's own cognitive process. Now, based on my previous video I have made titled NI, the perspectives, the brand personality hacker had explained NI similar to the definition of metacognition. Also, uh, based on my quick video research, background research, I saw that YouTuber Denzel had made a video on the topic of metacognition, and in parentheses, he put NI. And that video he made was 9 years ago. So I find it interesting how they have metacognition and NI, and I'm ready to learn if there's a reason behind it. And if you watch my video, you know I already have my own understanding of what it means to have a function, a cognitive function, NI, for an individual. But I am willing to learn more and I can't wait to see what they say. So, just like my previous reaction videos, I'm gonna do 20 minutes intervals, which would end up being a 40-minute long reaction video time frame. So, yeah, let's start.
Hey everyone, welcome to Tech Talks. Today we have our lovely guests Denzel and Grace, and today we'll be talking about metacognition and NI. NI is the dominant function of INTJs and INFJs, and the auxiliary function of ENFJs and ENTJs. Some YouTubers who have NI in the second or dominant position are Teal Swan, Matthew Hussey, to just give you a feel of people who use introverted intuition. And so we're going to talk a little bit about metacognition. So
That explains so much why I like Teal Swan's videos. Now, don't get me wrong, I know there's a lot of videos warning people about how Teal Swan is out here making recommendation towards sensitive topics like suicide, and she got depicted as promoting people to kill themselves and all that. But I watched those videos. I don't get the impression that's what she was going for. But at the same time, it is possible for someone to be suicidal and then think, as they're watching the video, oh wow, maybe Till Swung is encouraging me to off myself, which I don't think is the case. It's a possibility, not a reality, is what I'm trying to say. But still, I like her videos, even though she created a lot of mixed reaction with a particular audience. I will leave it as that.
you like to get us started?
Yeah. So I made a video back in 2017. I called it Metacognition. And pretty much what happened was I was in class and I had an ESFJ teacher who was teaching us the concept.
And yes, my reaction to when she mentioned Till Swan was very, how can I say this? Not really out of place, but it just branched off into a different topic. But still, I want to let it be known that I am aware of the controversy her Teal Swan branding or the topics, the way she talks does to some people, and I just wanted to acknowledge that. In my opinion, I think suicide is um, a mental illness and it should be treated properly. And that is a good thing to acknowledge. 100%.
Metacognition. I'd never heard that actual term before, but when she presented it, she defined it as so meta means beyond, and then cognition means your way of thinking. So metacognition, all being one word, was beyond thinking, which in a way, like if you go look at the YouTube video, I drew like a stick figured man, and then he was thinking.
Which makes a lot of sense because to be NI is beyond what the majority population can comprehend. And that's the best way I can explain it. So I don't know what else to say. Because as an individual, you are washing your mind. You are observing your mind. And just me simply saying that is intense. To be aware that you are a human being is a little bit more intense than I'm just going to stop it right there because I don't know what else to say.
XYZ. And then there was a thought bubble coming out of his thought bubble, thinking of why was he thinking XYZ? And that's kind of like an image explaining what metacognition is, because it's pretty much retracing your thought process and like going beyond your thinking, like having a meta perspective. Like, all right, right now I'm thinking about ice cream. Like, why am I thinking about ice cream? Oh, because I was thinking of, I heard this song, which reminded me of the ice cream truck, which then reminded me of this. And so you start like retracing that thought pattern. So
For me, I would have just simply said, I'm thinking of ice cream because I'm hungry. But that is also the wrong answer because that can lead to weight gain. But what Denzel just stated, it can also be the case as well. I just gave a simple explanation. But what Denzel mentioned is how, what does that go into? I forgot what it's called, but it's kind of like advertisement or controlled mind, not mind control, but it's like this human tactic to encourage people to have an appetite for something that is in the best interest of the company. I don't know what it's called, but we already have a name on it. And I 100% can say that a lot of YouTube videos made discuss this topic very lengthy. Oh my goodness. I just had a 10-minute and I'm not even 2 minutes into the video. I'll let them I'll let them talk now.
And that is actually like NI, introverted intuition, has many different facets to it, but I think that that's one of the biggest facets of NI. And the thing that was like interesting, especially in that class, was when she presented that concept, then she asked the class, like, how many of you guys relate to this? And there was only 3 NJs in that class. Coincidentally, it was me and 2 other ENFJ. They didn't know that they were ENFJ, but I knew that they were. I typed them in that sense. And we were the only ones who raised our hands and had things to talk about. And that kind of surprised me too, because I don't expect like no one to like, even like from watching this video, I expect maybe like some people of different types of like, oh, well, I kind of like relate to metacognition and everything. I think that we potentially all do that to an extent. But the thing that sets it apart with NJs is that this is a like subconscious thing. So that's very important. Like it's subconscious. We don't just sit back and like, actively retrace our thought process. This is something that we've always just pretty much done. We've always been detached enough from our thought process to where we're watching our mind form patterns. And so, and it
That kind of reminds me when I was younger. I don't know if this is how it all started, but every every time I learn a new subject, I always think about myself. So I just realized I made a mistake because I'm trying to explain my TI when the topic is trying to focus on the NI. But seriously, from my thinking perspective, I always want to go back to myself. And then it just naturally leads to me watching my mind, if that makes sense. But that is not the proper distinction. So let's keep going.
and interesting, like again, like people with lower stacked and not like um, Jamila, my ISFP wife, so she has it in the tertiary position, not nearly as strong as an ENFJ, ENTJ, INFJ, INTJ, but there's even like small examples where it's like she was hanging out with an ISTJ and then ENFP. I'm wondering if he's maybe INFP, but yeah, I know that he's NFP. And they were all 3 watching Hulu or something, and a commercial, like an ad, came on for chicken, and then she said that about like maybe a minute or 2 later, it was like a kind of like quick ad that just passed by. And then about a minute or 2 later, the ISTJ was like, I'm kind of in the mood for chicken. And then the NFP was like, yeah, me too, And then she was like, yeah, I wonder why that is. Like they started like thinking about that. And then Jamila pointed out, it's like, oh, because there was just an ad of chicken like about a minute or 2 ago, and they didn't even recall the ad. And the ISTJ is like, no, I'm just in the mood for chicken, I'm just hungry. And of course, you can't really like prove like, no, this is why you are not just hungry, but you specifically want chicken. But it was something.
No, we can prove it. Once I find what that term is called, I'll put it on the screen, but you can make the case. Maybe not prove it, but we can make the case, okay?
It's planted in their mind. And so just to like further throw this like more out there, ever since like I realized this in myself, and I'm not 100% sure like if this is like all ENFJ and things like that, but I'm like I've always been heavily into the mindset of like seeing everything as seeds, including like planting seeds and stuff like that. And I have an INFJ best friend named David, individual. Some people may know him from my channel and everything, Instagram. He's kind of like Instagram famous now. And he and I used to actually like our biggest conflict that we had with each other to this date was the fact that it's going to sound crazy, but he hated, especially as a self-preservation 5, he hated the idea that I would always plant things in his mind. And he would not notice that I planted these seeds in his head until later when he starts seeing them grow. Sometimes, and again, this is like very abstract language, and I wish I could have like concrete examples to explain, but it'd just be so difficult. But like sometimes he would see, he would
Let me see. I think I can think of an example. Mm, let's say I wanted to go to the beach for the 4th of July. And so planting a seed in someone's head would be, man, it would really be nice to go to the beach one day, touching the water, surfing, I guess. I don't know if you can do that at the beach you are at. And more. I would just describe the scenery of the beach very briefly. And let's say the 4th of July is like 3 months out. And then I mentioned, oh yeah, but I want to do it in a special day like the holidays. Okay. And then once a month, I just talk about the same thing again. But then the other person starts to join in, like, yeah, yeah, the beach will be really nice. Yes, let's go to the beach. Yeah. And then the 4th of July came and we was like, and then we made a plan to go to the beach on the 4th of July. If not the 4th of July, somewhere within that week, within the week. So that could be an example of planting something in someone's head.
know that I planted these seeds until he saw this huge tree in his head, and he's eating from the tree and he's enjoying the fruit from that tree that I planted in his head, because I never did anything ill-intended, but I did secretly plant things in his head, and he's eating from it and he's enjoying it. But as he's eating it and enjoying it, he's reprimanding me like, yo, what did I tell you about doing that? You know, and he's like very upset about it and everything. And it's like, dude, like, and my whole thing was,
That's kind of weird. I don't know why he would be upset about it unless he is joking, but who knows?
typical ENFJ things. Like, I just knew that you would like this. I knew that this would help you. I knew that, you know, how this was going to play out. And if I just said it straightforward, I also was pretty confident that you would not know. So you would not trust me. And so, honestly, the best way that could get you to trust me was, ironically, to get you to
Now, that's the thing. I don't feel comfortable suggesting someone something if they don't trust me. If I know something is good for me and you don't trust me, that is your loss, not mine. In a way, it's my loss too, but But Denzel personality is it's a very fun personality. I like it. He's like, just trust me, bro. Just trust me. And now your friend is eating from the fruit from the tree, and that's beautiful. So,
just do things kind of like me, you know, controlling it in a way, and then seeing that everything's worked out. And once you've seen it happen enough times, later on you realize that I was the man behind, you know, the scene and everything. And of course, you know, I get it. You feel invaded and stuff like that. So in a way, you kind of don't trust me now because I've invaded your mind in that way. But you at least now trust that wow, you know, you're 10 for 10 right now. Like, dang, that was you. That was you too. What the heck? Like, you're really good at this. So now, which is our relationship now, I don't plant things in his head anymore. I just directly tell him, like, hey, this is what I think. This is what I think. Blah, 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 blah. This is how I feel like it's going to play out. Yada, yada, yada. You should do this socially, you know, whatever, whatever. And he trusts me, as well as Jamila and many other people in my life, because they now have seen me do this enough times. In fact, my other INFJ friend named Justine. She said that we were on a live stream one time, and she said that she's noticed me doing this as well a few times. And she said, like, yeah, I see you like doing that. And I just love it personally, because when I see what sprouts from that, then it's just like, man, this man is like amazing. It's like, wow, that's cool. And usually what I've noticed is that only MI DOMs, sometimes MI auxiliaries, will notice me doing that. This was all developed from that metacognition idea, where it's like, because I've retraced the thought process in my mind several times, then if you have thought B, I've been through A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, P, all of that so frequently that I can jump to P and plant Q or whatever. And I could even just suggest this, and then you'd be like, "Whoa, how did you know that's where I was going?" And before it was like really subconscious. It was like, I don't know how I knew that, but now because I understand metacognition, it's like, oh, I knew that because I've been through this thought process enough times with enough things. FE noms, I've had a lot of people that I've dealt with to be able to go back into my mind of this really large pool. And so, yeah, it's mind inception, which is also my way of like influencing people. I never really try to force people. I just try to like drop things and like, hey, just consider that, and and yeah. So that was a lot, and I might say more later as we converse, but it's
Yes.
foundation.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you, Denzel. Shannon Welsh actually calls NI thought inception too. So it's very interesting that you guys coincide. NI is very aware of its inner thought life. It's almost aware of the quality of the things that you fill your mind with, and it knows the progression of thoughts. So the seeds of thoughts and the progression it takes to grow into a tree. So it's aware of the trajectory of these general things that you have in your mind. That
I like how she explained that because it is very true. At the very least, NI will help will have you be aware of the quality of the content in the mind. The quality. Good, bad, ugly, beautiful, NI will give you the awareness and the room to explore whatever shows up in the mind. And I could not have explained it that way if she didn't mention the word quality. So, very good point.
you plant and they grow and they fester. So
I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm not very a big fan of the metaphor planted a seed in your mind and have it grow into a tree in my mind. Maybe I'm the only one that feels weird about it, but I don't know.
yeah, Jay Shetty, he calls it you either plant seeds in your mind or weeds. And you have to be very deliberate and intentional with what you put in your mind because that sprouts.
Yeah.
Very, very intentional. Very, very intentional. I cannot stress that enough. Very, very intentional.
And I've noticed this too, like with myself. Like I've always been very aware of what was being planted in my head. Always. Like I can watch a movie, I can watch a show, I can read a book, I can have conversations. And I guess because I'm so good at planting things in other people's heads, which again, like this is literally people other than David. So even me saying this now, I'm being like vulnerable in a way, like, hey, I'm capable of doing this. It's kind of like it's a thing that years ago I used to never even like bring up. I didn't even put up about it because it really like just scared people. Like, how is he so capable? Whatever. But like I guess now that people trust my intent more, like
Maybe because I'm sensitive. Well, not sensitive. Well, yes, I'm an INFJ, so I am sensitive. Maybe because I'm a feminine NI, so I'm very sensitive to how intentional I have to be when it comes to what shows up in my mind. Now, that doesn't mean I can't watch horror films or other contents that appear extreme or dangerous or fun. It just means I need to be mindful on how it influenced my mind or it influenced my cognitive it influenced my cognitive, what is the word I'm looking for, cognitive health.
Mila, for example, she said that like, yeah, I know that you're very capable of doing that, but like, I think the people she literally said, like, I think the people who don't trust you when you're doing this are just stupid because whenever you do it, it's like always like really whatever, which that's her opinion or whatever. But like she's pretty much saying like, you have good intent and you always do it well. And I won't do it unless if I'm pretty much positive of the outcome or like what tree is gonna sprout from that. But anyway, like I'm aware of how it impact my mind. I can watch something and some people just watch it and be like, wow, that was a great movie, that was a great thing. And they won't even be aware of like the messages that was planted in their head. But for me, I've always been like, wait, they're trying to suggest this, or I see what they're doing. This is the kind of meaning they're trying to put behind this, or I see the subliminal message that they're sending me. And I have gone.
Damn, Denzel, you just made me realize why I don't really watch a lot of pop movies or pop shows, because that is a lot of interaction with the possible message that the film is trying to display and more. That's a lot of interaction and TI working to understand or analyze. So I do like to watch horror films. It's very straightforward. It's understandable. And it is a different topic that I may or may not explore on my channel, but we'll see.
At the forefront of my mind to like block it or to invite it at times. And this has been like, conversations and like all of that because now it's like I have to be aware of like who's planting stuff in my head. And I allow you to plant things in
Yes,
my head if I want that fruit there.
100%.
If I see that it's going to be beneficial, or if I see that you are skilled enough to know what things should be planted. But if I feel like you're not proficient enough, I'm going to keep you away because I have to guard the garden of my mind too. So I think that's also like something really interesting that goes, it's all stemmed from this metacognition standpoint, watching your subconscious mind as much as you can.
And because like an eye is so aware of the seeds, it knows in the future what the
Watching the subconscious and conscious. I think it's more so conscious, but yeah.
seeds will cause. So it's aware of the result of those messages, the eventualities, or where it will lead. And Grace, you also mentioned this cool idea about NI where it's thought deja vu. So could you go a bit into how NI is thought deja vu?
Oh shoot. I'm always having deja vus. Okay, let's see how she explained this.
Yeah. So I think that, like everyone experiences deja vu. Like I've been there before. I've been down this road before is kind of what it feels like to have thought deja vu. And I actually think it is because of NI. Because
Now, let me look up the definition of deja vu before she goes on. It reminds me of a argument I was having with someone when I was younger. Now, I am a person that doesn't believe in that doesn't believe that an argument always have to be heated. It could just be a very civilized conversation, but each person still has a stance. So basically, I think what the person a long time ago was trying to say was that deja vu doesn't exist. Let me see. Let me look up the definition of deja vu. Deja vu. So deja vu, from how I see it, in French is a French word. If you were to translate it, déjà, again, vu, see, again, see. And from when I was younger, my understanding of déjà vu was that, oh my goodness, I've seen this before. And the person was stating that they don't believe in déjà vu, it is not a real thing. And when I look up the definition of déjà vu, let me see. This is what the AI say. Oh, and they repeated what I just said in a way. Okay. The intense, fleeting sensation that a new situation or experience has already been lived through or seen before. And sadly, I had to lose that argument. I had to lose that argument. That was the point I was getting to. Because the way, I don't know what was the definition before AI was. Let me see if I can find it somewhere else. The illusion of remembering scenes and events when experienced for the first time, a feeling that one has seen or heard something before. Well, I like the second definition. And that was so unfair. I was so mad. The definition of deja vu suck. The definition of deja vu suck because it was basically basing the interpretation of the word deja vu as being a sensation, like a feeling. And you know what that means. When something is a feeling, it cannot be disproved. I mean, when it comes to deja vu in general, it's hard to disprove it. But when me as a person say they have a deja vu, I'm trying to say deja vu as in, yes, I've seen this scenario before. It's not a feeling. I'm actually seeing it before. But I can't use the word deja vu because other people are going to think, wow, so you had a feeling. No, I did not have a feeling. I actually did see this scenario or this vision before. Like it came to me as a vision in my dream or something like that. But now when I explain it this way, I sound like a crazy person, maybe. So it makes me very upset. I like to think that the word deja vu got hijacked for no reason. But that's just me being petty. Anyways, let's see how she explained deja vu.
At least when I experienced thought deja vu, and I'm curious who would like relate to that, because I don't think anyone has really ever talked about the idea of thought deja vu, but I've actually never experienced like sensory deja vu, just like the thought deja vu. So I'll kind of like go down a train of thought, and I'm like, I have thought this exact pattern before, and I think the only
Oh yeah, I've experienced that kind of deja vu. Well, that one makes sense.
that you can do that is like through.
To be honest with you, if I ever have a thought deja vu, that's a sign that something is wrong. But that's just my opinion.
This underlying awareness of, and it's funny because it's not like this active trying to, Denzel had mentioned before that AI is actually kind of a passive process. It's like a very aware process, but you're also not forcing it. So it's kind of naturally happening. You are actually aware and kind of observing, almost like everything that happens, it doesn't just happen to you, but you also have like a mental reaction to it. And then you kind of see the rippling effects between like, okay, so this happened, and then I got this idea as a result of this thing. But then I used my idea to change the reality, which then did this. And it's
Oh,
kind of
that's very
watching this kind of
cool.
pinging back and forth between, reality in the way that reality affects perception and back again. So when I have, like, thought deja vu, it's tended to be, oh, well, this, but then why does that cause this thought?
I very rarely have thought deja vu, to be honest. Of course, I will revisit topics, and that's always fun, but it's not a good thing to me if I have a thought deja vu, because that doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't. There's zero logic for why I should have a thought deja vu. Except the fact if my thought deja vu actually was based on the fact that I had a dream of having a certain thought and then it happened again, but that rarely happens. So, I mean, but that's a whole different conversation.
Then why does then now I think I would believe this, and it kind of just keeps, it's like a train of thought, I would say. Like metacognition, the idea of metacognition that Denzel was talking about is like pretty much the idea of like a train of thought. I think it's almost like, in a way, like zooming out. So um, SE is pretty much like when you are in the circumstance, like fully immersed in it. So like if you have really high up SE, you're probably going to be very aware of like exactly like just the full impact and force of like right here and now. But then NI is after you've had several events, you're kind of zoomed out and you see like this event happened and this event and this event.
That explains so much because I have high SE as a INFJ. My consume is double activated and my SE is masculine and my play is high. So I have a high amount of SC, sensory, extroverted sensory, as a intuitive introvert. And I could say it kind of sucks because I kind of wish I could be more in my head, but instead I have to be out in the moment, in the present moment. When like I don't even have the option to be in my head more. I kind of wish I do have the problem of being in my head too much, but I don't. So how many minutes? Oh my goodness. Okay, I have 2 minutes left before this reaction video becomes 40 minutes, but I'm going to let them talk for the remainder of the time and we will move on.
And you can actually you stop kind of seeing the events themselves, and rather you begin to see just the connection that one event led to the other, and sort of the cause and effect of things. And so the more zoomed out you are, the less you are immersed in the situation, but the more aware you are of like.
Can you start from cause and effect again? Because your thing went mute during that, so it'll be mute in the recording. So
Okay, so yeah. Oh dang it! I should be able to retrace my mental process here. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just like the cause and effect of all things that you can kind of see from a detached, zoomed out perspective, kind of like from the third person. I would say you can pretty much see it as a trajectory. So once you see like cause and effect, it begins to like look like like if you had a graph, it would look like a line of like what would you call that? A line of best fit almost. And so once you see a line of best fit, you can then assume the trajectory that will stay on. So if you can kind of see a pattern, the trajectory, the line that forms can kind of be extended in your own mind. And so I think that from that point, the reason that NI can be considered like able to tell the future, able to see possible outcomes, it's not because of some sort of psychic ability or anything like that. It's just you kind of almost assume what the future will be.
Maybe my explanation about deja vu was very psychic. My bad. I don't know. I don't know. Because she just said, oh, wait, sorry. I forgot I wasn't supposed to respond. But she just said that she's not trying to push the metacognition of NI into the topic of psychic abilities. And I like the fact that she said that. And I think I did that by mistake myself. So
because the clear line of what everything has already meant and the way that cause and effect works is so clear that you basically take for granted that that cause and effect pattern will continue into the future. And you can pretty much bank on certain things in the future, just because you're so aware of the past. And Denzel, you actually talk about in some of your videos the idea of running simulations. And you're like, well, if this happens, therefore this. Well, what if I did it a little bit differently? And it's kind of like you take the SE components of like present given reality, like given this scenario, therefore the play out of the scenario will be this. And it's almost like it's kind of like making an assumption. I mean, it just feels like, oh, duh, yeah, of course, Is there anything else that you wanted to say, Denzel, on running simulations? Because that's an idea that you talk a lot about.
Yeah, simulations, all of this just bleeds together. I've run simulations almost all the time, like even small things like, well, not small, but like, things like this, like where it's like, okay, I wonder how this is going to go. Right? If I started off just spieling about, what metacognition is, then it's probably going to prime these thoughts, which will then allow, Joyce to be a little bit more relaxed about how the conversation's going to go, and then it's just going to flow in this way. And, like, it's literally just like always going that way. It's like, but if I just allow it to go this way, if I just do this instead, it's almost like I described it one time in a few videos. I said that, at least in my experience, ENJs are really skilled because of the NISE being so close together. From my experience, INJs are better skilled at seeing what's going to come, like, in the future. And then ENJs are better skilled at making it happen, like making what's going to happen in the future happen. So, like, I almost think of like Bronn from Game of Thrones, where I believe that he was an INFJ. And he was always capable of like seeing like what was going to happen, and he just kind of like positioned himself so where like things could like kind of like fall in his lap because he saw the trajectory. While ENJs, I think of like ENFJ Raymond Reddington from The Blacklist. He's one of my favorite ENFJ fictional characters. And as we watch this man operate, it's incredible. He's a genius. He's played by James Spader, and like he literally, like, pretty much, long story short, the plot of the story is this man has been on the run for over 30 years. He's been on the most wanted list, top 10 most wanted list, and everything. And the police, the FBI, they could not get him. Finally, in the first episode, he turns himself in randomly. They don't even know who he is because, they're still kind of like, like not identifying like his like how he looks like. So he's like, so he walks into the, DC or whatever, and he's like, yeah, I'm looking for Harold Cooper, which is like, the FBI deputy or whatever. And then they're like, okay, just tell him that Raymond Reddington's here. So then the woman's like, all right. He walks in the middle and he just starts taking off of his suit and everything, and everyone's looking at him like, what? Then when she types in his name, she realizes, like, wait a minute, he's on the most wanted list. So immediately, perfect timing, like he's already like on his knees, everything's arrested. Fast forward, he takes over the police department. Like they're now working for him. They're helping him build a criminal empire as he's kind of like snitching on others. And the criminals, they think that he's on their side still. So he's going up to them and he's like, oh, good to see you. And he's like going all kind and everything like that. And they still think that he's like a criminal, which he is. But then he's actually working for the FBI, which is also working for him. And long story short, again, almost every episode, the FBI is upset with him because they didn't see how many seeds he planted. Like, he was able to predict so many things that were going to happen because he caused a lot of those things to happen. Like, he's like, well, you know, like in about 2 weeks, this is going to happen, and blah, blah, blah. And I think that this is going to happen, and yada, yada, yada. And then he knows also that from telling them this information, this is how you guys are probably going to respond to this information. Because Harold, you're so predictable. He's an ENFJ. And so he literally like says that, like, oh, you know, Harold is nothing but predictable. So if I tell him this information, he's probably going to be the good guy to do this, which maybe then I should probably do this. And so I should set this up. And
I feel like I watched. Oh, I went over 2 minutes. Oh my goodness. But I feel like I watch. Um, is it a
before you know it, like, oh my.
is it a show or a movie? But I feel like I watched it myself, so that's pretty interesting. Now this is my deja vu moment. I just depicted just now. Anyways, thank you guys for taking the time to watch my reaction video of Metacognition and NI, showcasing Joyce, Denzel, Grace. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and you are welcome to love all Ember too with me. Bye bye, everyone.